I got another video for y'all today, and this video is Jellal versus Lumiere from Black Clover. So this is a cross versus battle, correct? Versus two light users, Lumiere from Black Clover and Jellal from Fairy Tale. We're gonna start in Fairy Tale land for scenario one. How this goes. The strength goes to Jellal, physical strength. You know, we've seen him fight against, guys, right? He fought against Natsu. He fought against, real players. The only person we've seen Lumiere fight against was, licked, demonified, and also, Zagred, but he was a part of the group when he was fighting against those guys. Jellal was doing all that shit by himself. Jellal fought against the irrational states by himself. Physical, attacks, knocking these guys down. You know, Lumiere's not doing shit like that. However, I got speed going to Lumiere. At first, I was gonna give it to Jellal, but then I was like, Jellal. After watching Fairy Tale a couple times, I know that Jellal takes, he takes a couple hits. Hits he shouldn't be taking because he is fast, but he's like, he's kind of slow. You know, too. Lumiere never showed feats of being slow necessarily. He's fast. He got to the battlefield where Zagred was, and he was like, let me help fight. Even though I'm like basically dead, I'm still one of the kings of the Clover Kingdom. But in this scenario, right, they're fighting in Magnolia. He's still moving around pretty quick. Now, when I say this, I don't say that I ain't saying Jalal's like way slower than him. It's just that I believe he uses his speed better than Jalal does, just slightly and slightly too, not by a lot. Now, durability goes to Jalal. You know, Lumiere is not one to be a tank. Jalal is definitely not a tank either. But Jellal can take a beating better than Lumiere. Um, then we have endurance. We got Jellal with the endurance. Lumiere never had any of his fights last too long. He always tried to use his attacks to the best of his ability. Let me use like all my power in my arsenal to fight. Jellal might try to analyze his opponent and shit like that. And see, okay, I might not have to use all my magical power to take this person down. Except when he was fighting against the irrational six, he had to kind of do that because it was like a whole guild, versus him. But the intelligence I give it to Lumiere because Lumiere, I remember he was trying to like create magic tools for his people. He was also trying to, um, he had that intellectual side about himself. He was trying to, bridge the gap between him and elves, and do that. And then during battle, he's trying to, do his best to, not finish it too quickly if he don't have to. But then when he had to, he locked in. It was like, I wanted to save you, friend, but I guess I have to kill you, now. And I'm talking about Lumiere when he was fighting against, as that demon. But experience goes to Jellal. Jellal has more experience than Lumiere does. That's just the truth. Um, Jellal's been in way more fights than Lumiere. And, if you watch Fairy Tale, you know I'm right. Close skills go to Jellal. Jellal, when he was fighting against the Irrational Six, what did he do? He run up on, fist right to the face. Boom. You know, he's fighting Natsu in the Tower of Heaven. He's, hitting him like a lot. Natsu can't even attack. I know Lumiere don't got it like that. We got range skills. Lumiere has range skills, but here's the thing: Jellal's range skills are a lot more powerful than Lumiere's attack. So you could give it to Lumiere if you wanted to, but nah, man. He has the Pleiades, he has Orion, he has the Grand Chariot, and then he also has Asema. And that's all range attacks. Light coming from the stars down to Earth. Recoup goes to Jellal. Even though like these two characters are not the best at doing shit like that, but Jellal is better than Lumiere. We got hacks going to Jellal. Like I said, I already named all of them, like big move attacks. That's heavenly body magic that he uses. You know, then we have the environment going to Jellal. Jalal is familiar with Magnolia, whereas Lumiere would not be. Now in scenario 2, we're in Clover Kingdom and we're fighting in that arena that, Asta and fought in that movie. And it's a battle between Jalal and Lumiere. So strength goes to Jalal. He has physical strength over Lumiere. We already said this, right? Speed goes to Lumiere, ever so slightly, just slightly. It's like when, you have somebody running like 10-1-1 and then the next person runs 10-1-2. It's like that kind of thing. But Lumiere, slight edge. I give a slight edge to him. He's a little lighter than Jellal. But durability wise, then durability goes to Jellal. He's more, stocky, more, got a little more meat on his bones than, Lumiere does. Then we got endurance. So endurance goes to Jellal too. Lumiere, he tries to end his fights quick. Like once he gets on the move to and he's aggressive about his attacks. He's like once he's attacking you to end the shit. Jellal does that shit too, but he gets in those fights where he's like he's not there to end it right away. He's trying to analyze his opponent and what kind of moves do these people have, and other things. They're not both of them ain't the most aggressive, but they can get that way. I still give it to Lumiere though, or I give it to Jellal when it comes to endurance though, right? He can last in a fight longer. Jellal or not Jellal, I give it to Lumiere, and now that he's in the Clover Kingdom, he knows about people and other things and all that, right? And so he's definitely more intelligent in that area, in that arena. We got the experience going to Jellal. Jellal still has been in more fights. Even though he's in another world, he uses that experience he has fought in the fairy tale verse here in Black Clover, and he's like, this is still a world of magic. It's magic based, even though it's different. I still have a fucking advantage here. All my battles made me stronger, and I learned from them. And he's definitely one of those characters who went through some character development. You can't say he didn't. You watch Fairy Tale, I'm right. Close skills go to Jellal again. Like I said before, Jellal has some hands compared to Lumiere. We got range skills going to Jellal. Lumiere has range skills. He uses light magic, but Jellal has range skills too, and they're a lot more powerful. And we have range or recoup going to Jellal. Both of these characters are not the best at recovering, but one has to win out of the two, right? And I'm giving it to Jellal. I'm not giving it to Lumiere. Hacks go to Jellal. Jellal has heavenly body magic that he uses. And then he had dark magic that he could use too, but he doesn't use it anymore. He wouldn't even need it during this fight. He wouldn't. But the environment goes to Lumiere in this match. Even so, even with all of that being said, in both scenarios, Jellal wins, and it's high diff. Mid to high diff actually. Lumiere was the first Wizard King. He stepped forward and nobody else could, and all that. Right? Jellal was one of the 10 Wizard Kings. His life was manipulated by dark beings and dark magic. Then he turned a new leaf and he was like, I'll fight against the darkness, and I'll protect this world from that dark influence. This man went through some development. We've seen a lot more from Jellal. And if you look shit up on the internet, it'll actually tell you, Jellal is, slightly, stronger, and his powers and abilities, surpass that of Lumiere. So don't even think that the Green End was lying to you. And I'm not even saying it because of what Google searches say. I fucking watched these animes and multiple times, and Jellal puts belt to ass on that. With that being said, be cool, call in the corner, and let me know what you thought about this Crossverses battle. And be cool, call in the corner.